I think that's one of the biggest questions that people ask themselves when they're going into MBA, at least I did, is it going to be worth it?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to not just another episode, but episode 50 of the best MBA podcast in the world, Get to Be School. This is your host, Drex, and I am so grateful for each and every one of you, especially today as we kick off episode 50. And the only reason that we're here with episode 50 is because each of you, for the sharing, for the guest intros, for the amazing experiences that we keep having. So thank you to everyone who is listening, sharing, interacting. Because it is episode 50, we wanted to do something a little bit special. So we are interviewing a phenomenal guest, Matt LoLordo, and we have a guest host with us tonight, Doug. Doug was on a few episodes ago, my main man, Doug. Everyone knows I'm a big fan of Doug, and I'm a huge fan of Matt LoLordo now. It was so fun to meet him. He and I were in a class together with Doug this past term, and I just really enjoyed getting to know a little bit more about him. His background is in food, so a very fun, unique background. I have maybe a little too much experience with food, but not the productive kind that he has. And it was a lot of fun to hear, his thought processes about getting an MBA, making it worth it, doing the evening program versus full time. All those questions, all those answers. I know it's a bit of a shoulder season right now with applications, but if you're looking for a coach, please check out the links in the show notes. You'll get great access to incredible coaches, great deals running. Do whatever you need to set yourself up for success there. Leland is a great platform and grateful to them and their support. I hope you have a great week. Hope that you reach out if there's anything that we can do for you. Let's get to the good part now with Matt LoLordo and our guest host, Doug. Matt, thank you so much for joining not just me, but Doug and myself on the Get to Be School podcast today. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Been looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm honored. It feels like this is my prize for being on the Spotify Wrap.
Matt, my first exposure to you was in the class Selling Yourself and Your Ideas, and you stood up to give a presentation and you were holding a cookbook. So there's that I want to ask you about, but also I got jealous when Doug told me that you were sharing Kind protein ice cream bars, and I never got one. Would you mind introducing yourself and explaining a little bit about those two things?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. As you kind of gave a little bit of a introduction on, I am a foodie at heart. My background started food science, really wanted to get to understand just like the components of how food gets put together, mainly because everybody needs it. It's never going away, or at least I hope it's never going away. And it's honestly just such an interesting way that people connect and I think take a little bit for granted. I just love it. And another thing that you may not know is basketball is the second thing that runs my life. If you ever see frustration, it's usually because Illinois or the Bulls are not doing very well. So for me, I mean, I love connecting with people. That's why I love this. I like hearing people's stories. I like taking things apart, putting them back together. I mean, I learn by doing. I learn by seeing. Not much of a reader. I am more of a hands-on kind of learner. So that's it about me.
Okay, awesome. And the kind you tried to you avoided the not giving me a Kind protein bar. What was this about?
The one that Doug and I got to share together was actually the Kind frozen bar. So it's a very hidden secret of Kind. It's an amazing product. I think it's one of the best innovations that the company's done since the conception of the actual bar. But if you've ever had like the Snickers or Twix ice cream bars, it's the Kind version. It's inherently dairy free, tastes awesome. It's like 180 calories. Don't quote me on that. It's been a couple of years since I actually like looked at the back of pack. Amazing little treat that I had the privilege to work on with like a great group of people at work and bring that to life.
It is tasty. I can confirm that. Yeah, our group got really close after that experience together.
I envy people who get to work on physical products, things that you can touch or taste. I think that's a really cool experience. You have a lot going on with work, but this is a B School podcast. So we'll start with the B School aspect. When did you start thinking about business school? How did that enter the equation?
I always told myself, I'm like, I'm never going to get my MBA. Don't do it, Matt. It's not you. Don't do it. As I kind of started to explore and get new opportunities at work and take on different roles and projects, I started to see just like the intricacies that happen, as I said, like earlier, I like to connect. And I saw that there was a couple things I was missing for my skill set and my experience wise that could help me actually do those kind of things that I'm good at and I enjoyed. And one of those was really understanding like business foundation and getting more out of education in business. So I actually thought through it, like this actually might be a good avenue to go. And it really kicked off after a job I applied for. Very curious, just getting out there and seeing like what this could be. And it was about business to business interactions and finding new startups that we could invest in. And I was missing some critical experiences. And one of the things I was missing was just a better foundation in business. And I saw this as a catalyst where I could get that in a quicker time rather than taking 2, 3 different roles just to get into a role like that.
Okay, why do an evening program? Why not just step away entirely, gain those skills that you talked about, then jump back in?
As I was kind of going through it, one, I'm a little older, so it was just taking a step away from work. I didn't really want to do that. I still wanted to continue to drive my career forward as I was doing this because I saw that I could do both. Now it's a ton of work, as you both know. And frankly, like I didn't want to make it stressful on my household too, just from a financial standpoint, losing a big chunk of the house income just to go do school and take on debt and everything there. I had to do more of the sacrifice on personal time rather than sacrifice on those around me that needed it. But the biggest and probably most important for me was I like to do the things I learn, and that's how I learn and apply it. Evening and weekend, you can apply everything that you learn the next day. And that was like one of the biggest sell points for me is that I could go into selling yourself, learn about pointy point of views, go into the next meeting and give a pointy point of view and see how it worked. And then come back, tell Doug about it. And then Doug says, why don't you try this? And then I go try the next time. So that was a piece, I think, for me that at least how I learn, how I process things and how I like make things stick, I have to do it. So I thought that was a great reason to do evening weekend.
Kind of going back to that, not a big reader, more of a hands-on type of guy.
Absolutely.
Going back to the feedback part and coaching, and that was such a big part of that selling yourself and your ideas class. And curious now coming back into it and being in the program for as long as you have, how has that experience of getting to apply the concepts the very next day at work? And that's what I currently love about being in evening weekend programs, being able to do that. But now having some experience in it, kind of how has that shaped your day-to-day at work?
Good question. I think of it in a couple ways. One, what are the tools that I can bring to work and test out? So think through, I'll just use our same class that we're all in as a good example, but our like building our brands and the like quarterly updates or those kind of things. I could test those out as like little networking type experiences. So put together the me on a page. Here's my brand. Let's see if this brand resonates with a certain group I'm going towards, or this portion of my brand works towards a different group I want to go towards. Because at least where I sit and work on the operation side, I deal with multiple different stakeholders, different cross-functional people where some portion of my brand works better for others, another portion works better for a different group. So how do I test that piece out? So that was like a really good experience there. But then also one of the things that I've really done is be really choosy with what I try out. Don't try everything, because then you're just trying too many things. You're not really going to get as much out of it as you'd like. So I pick and choose based on what my goal is that I want to accomplish, but also, am I trying to strengthen something or am I trying to totally develop something?
I run into that a lot, even like with school, or even Craig Wortman said, some of these will work for you, some of these won't, like take it or leave it. And I feel like I've experienced that in school, then also just again, other podcasts or like they say things you should do. And it's okay, I go do all this stuff that they just talked about and it might not necessarily.
Yeah.
I think having that ability to have the discernment between what is going to work for you and what's not, I think is a really important piece too. Because you can't kind of fall into that trap of like, oh my gosh, I need to do everything this way now.
Absolutely. The curious part of me sometimes gets the best of me where to your point, Doug, like I want to try everything and see what happens. And then there's the pragmatic scientific version of me where I'm just like, hey, you got to stop. That's not going to work. Pick one or two things and go with it. I mean, that's something that I've learned from a couple stakeholders that I admire on our senior leadership team, like they never want 20 different things. They want one or two things, go prove that it works, then we can make it expand out. So I try to take that same approach when I'm bringing some of these tools to test out or ways to test out, just because you're going to go insane if you try to test everything out. You're going to get nothing. You don't want to boil the ocean.
I love that.
Are you taking that same approach? Does that impact the classes that you take? Does that impact how you spend your time at Kellogg? This is almost like a point of view, because I would have said the opposite. I would have told someone like, hey, go try everything. This is your shot to, I'm like running in the opposite direction. And so this is really helpful. And I want to know how you're actually doing it in the school perspective.
Well, to your point, Drexler, like, yes, you should go and try everything, but how I do it is like take it in chunks. Like try to do something super quick, see if it works, pivot, move on to the next thing. Like see how many things you can get done, but don't go into analysis paralysis. Just like test, fail, pivot, learn, move on to the next one. So you can get a bunch done quickly and still be able to have tangible results to say, okay, this worked or this didn't. To your point on how I've taken on school with that approach, I would say I've taken this experience as I want to get involved in a lot, but make sure that I'm making an impact when I get involved in a lot. I definitely started off too much on my plate and I got burnt out super quick. You can ask my wife, she's just like, Matt, you need to go to the gym and stop looking at your computer. You're going insane. That actually, from there, it kind of took me a second to take a step back and then create only a few focus areas. So I have a whiteboard in my office where what are my goals and what do I want to test? So I have like 4 or 5 different paths that I'm like, hey, as I think through my career, what do I want to test? Like, do I want to stick in this and continue to do senior leadership track? Do I want to go do a career pivot? Do I want to do a minor kind of career pivot of stay in a similar lane, but in a slightly different capacity? So thinking through those kind of things, and that's helped me at least generate what do I want to go do. I knew I wanted to learn more and test out leadership, so I joined the KSA board so that I could really work with the student body a little more, get to know people, and take on more of like a leadership type role. I knew I wanted to build something new. So I worked with a couple other students that have a passion for supply chain and operations and brought that club to life. And then I knew I wanted to totally just test something different. So I've asked different professors around private equity and venture capital, what does that mean? How does that work? How do I get a little bit of like hands-on tangible experience there? And frankly, a couple professors have given me at least a green light to give it a try and work with them. So really I try to keep focused, but I still do try to do quite a bit so that I can test it and do it in short little chunks where I can.
I love that. You're looking to build, you're looking to try out leadership. Can you share what it is that you're working on with professors?
I mean, I've just asked a couple different professors that have a background in venture capital if I could just do something. I'll donate my time to learn from you, maybe give you some different perspective from an operator side so that I can see the venture capital world as well as just learn some of the couple things that critical regardless if you stay in venture capital or not. But ultimately for me, it tests out, do I like this or not? I may just hate it, but I did the due diligence of asking the questions to the professors. Can I join you? Showing some value that I could bring so that it's a two-way street. I mean, I want it to be mutually beneficial for both of us. And then 3, it's test, learn. If I don't like it, pivot, move on to the next thing. If I do like it, all right, let's see what I liked about it and continue to dive into it.
There's that pragmatic approach.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
And that's the one thing I've loved about Kellogg too, that I didn't necessarily expect going into it, but how willing the professors are to meet outside of class time on a one-on-one basis, whether that's going to be there or going to their office before, just picking their brain. And when you realize the amount of resources you have at your disposal with all the very impressive professors that are on that Kellogg campus, it just makes the value that much more. And two, one thing I was thinking about when talking about getting involved in all the different clubs at Kellogg, that's something I've loved too, and being on the marketing club and getting that experience. What would you say to someone coming into Kellogg or coming into an MBA program on how to balance that amount of getting involved and then doing extracurriculars and that, and like how has that shaped your experience, would you say?
Do 2 things. One, you definitely want to just try as much as you can, but B, like when it comes to your professional goals, find a club that's going to help support those. So like Doug, for example, for you on the marketing side, that fits into a lane that you want to continue to grow your club in. There you're going to be able to meet like-minded people, get experience with different activities and like taking on leadership roles if you want, stuff that's going to help promote you in your career goals. I think that is critical from just like a club perspective. But I also think you should go into a club that has nothing to do with your career perspectives or like what you want to do. Join a club that just seems kind of fun and interesting or you would never want to do. There's a comedy club. There's Cork and Screw is one that I've gone into, which is like a wine club, which is kind of fun. There's a Japan club and they eat sushi, watch different shows and anime, and then they plan a trip to Japan. That's some of the human element that you also want to get out of this. Like it's very much about how do you develop your career, but it's also how do you develop that emotional intelligence that we always get told about and we learn a ton about at Kellogg. That's a critical one too. And I think you get that by being in uncomfortable situations and seeing how you work through that with the human side of things.
This is good to talk to both of you at the same time and realize I got work to do. This is so great. We're going to circle back to where we started a little bit. And you had said that you were in a spot with your career that you wanted to fill some gaps. Do you feel like you're doing that? Do you feel like the MBA was what you needed to become the professional that you want to be?
I think it's getting there. I think it's definitely helping me learn a little more about what do I want to do when I grow up again, not just gaps that I had identified for that particular situation, but more so what are different things that I may want to do differently now that I'm in a different environment. It's very easy to just the four walls that you're in at work. You see how this group has done it before you, but you don't put your own flair on it sometimes. So I think that's what MBAs helped me out with more rather than just the gaps that I saw. The things that I've seen be more tangible are how do I go up to people and network better? How do I actually sell my own story and tell those things and keep people engaged? How do I become that next call when Drexler or Doug are like, hey, we need somebody that knows food for our startup that we're going. Let me call Matt because he made a lasting impression or something like that. Those are things that I didn't even think of when I was applying. I'm like, I got that. That's easy. And I've just learned, no, I don't. I need to work on this. It is even more critical. But I think MBA's just opened up my mindset to a couple different things that are like, oh, okay, this might be a little more interesting of a path to go down. Maybe these might be bigger gaps that I have that I want to fill. And you only have a finite amount of time. You need to find the right things to like fill your time to get those gaps closed.
Such a thoughtful response. Doug, I'll let you get the last one in.
Yeah, no, and I echo what you said, Matt, there too. It's like the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. And sometimes ignorance is bliss, but then when you join an MBA program, you're around a lot of people and get a lot more experience. You realize there's a lot more out there to learn. And that's why it's so much fun to do it together. I mean, one thing I love about the part-time program and any MBA program that has people from full-time jobs coming back into it is that piece of kind of taking a step back and getting perspectives on different careers or different industries and all doing it in somewhat of a similar environment, whether we both take the same class and we're going to have very different perspectives going into it, or there's a case study in a random industry and there's someone in the 60-person class that is in that industry and can give an actual tangible perspective rather than talking in a theory. I mean, I've loved that piece so much. And that was one thing too, just in our conversations, learning more about your career path or you're working on a day-to-day basis. I'm just curious how that has come about, and also specifically on the Mars Kellanova integration, and you're working on that with digital and AI portion of it. And it's just like that, me coming from NBC to being in media, like that's something I would never get any exposure to or conversations in. And that's kind of the value and the beautiful thing about Kellogg from that perspective. So just kind of curious your perspective on that and what's going on in your day to day. And then if there's anything from your classes that has shaped how you viewed this integration and this merger.
I think that's one of the great parts specifically on evening and weekend. But I think additionally, one of the fun parts that we got from going to a full-time groups class to see the vast differences in opinions and how people like take on the same question.
Yeah.
I think in the evening and weekend program, it's great because you can get hands-on knowledge and thoughts from people that are living it and doing it day to day. We were in Moores, and I heard a couple people from Boeing talk about their experience at Boeing when it was going through all its like craziness that was happening, and just what they saw and how that's like different and more unique than what we're seeing on the actual piece of paper that we're reading the case study. So totally agree with you, Doug. Like it's really amazing to kind of hear people's stories that lived it and breathed it. But even those that don't, and seeing, well, I have a similar situation in my job or what I've experienced before. Here's how I've seen it done right and wrong, or from my perspective, open the floor. Who else thinks differently or the same? So you can see all these different stories from different people. You can get 20 different stories from 20 different people all off of one question. It's really cool. And I think the even cooler experience was the working individual versus the full-time student individual's perspective, because it was vastly different. I think I underappreciated it. We have different use cases and thoughts based on our situations. You don't get that a lot from just going even to like an undergraduate program. It's a very unique space, and especially how Kellogg has set it up, you can get quite a bit out of it. And then to your second point on the Mars Kellanova acquisition. So the thing that I've found my mindset change even just over the year of waiting for it to occur, and the more that I've learned, is I've been able to see a little more of why certain decisions may be made in certain cases, especially from like a business leadership standpoint. I mean, they're going to have to go through org structures, they're going to have to go through operating models, they're going to have to go through the financials, this, that, and the other, everything. It's one of the things that has really, really been interesting, is just seeing the importance on culture and preserving culture. And I fit that a little bit into like preserving a brand, and what's your brand and how do you make that reign through. Like there's your personal brand, there's the corporate brand. How do you keep those things true? I've seen that from just like a leadership perspective, how they think differently. Whereas maybe a year ago, before I was starting my MBA, I would have just been like, this is just what they have to say. Somebody wrote this down for them and it was the good words to say. But now you can kind of read through a little bit of what they're saying. Okay, this is why they may have phrased it this way versus that way. Here's why they're deciding to release this information now versus later. It also helps me make my own chess moves within the game of, all right, maybe I need to go talk to this stakeholder to make sure that as everything's said and done, I'm positioned in a place that I want to be rather than somewhere I just get handed to go to. Because every major acquisition comes with organizational designs that they need to do. So how do I sell my story appropriately, get to the position that I want to get to, and use this as an opportunity rather than another roll of the dice?
Yeah, this is why I'm so thankful, Drexel, you brought me in, because Matt has such an eloquent way of describing things in his experience, and that's what I found in our class too. And even just to put a pin in the full-time versus part-time conversation, what I noticed in that experience, I feel like in the full-time program, and there's just a sense of vulnerability that everyone is bought into, because everyone is looking for a new job for the most part, if you're not sponsored going back. But it's almost this growth mindset where it's like, this is what I think I'm good at, this is what I think I can improve on, this is where I want to go with my career. Where sometimes, like with Evening and Weekend, or even just earlier on in your career in general, there's a little bit more stoicism, or I don't want to share as much on what's going on or what I don't think I'm good at, because at work, like, I got to make sure that I'm growing and painting a good picture. So I feel like that class, just being around that community, really helped me be more vulnerable in that class and just in the projects we were doing, and actually like sharing what's really on my mind and what I want to work on. So I feel like the full-time students have a really good perspective on that.
Totally agree.
You both just shared such great insights in a very succinct way, and you've been able to put words to things that I've kind of been kicking around in my own head. Thank you to both of you. Matt, thank you especially for coming on and sharing your story. That was so fun.
Drexel, I do have to leave you with one thing. I remember one question that you had, or it might have just been a point of view in class, and I took it to heart because I feel very similar similarly. You talked about the importance of maintaining family as a very forefront of your decisions you make. And I just like that stuck with me because it's very easy as you go through these career challenges and making decisions for success and trying to be a better business person that sometimes that's one thing that gets left behind. And I just appreciate you putting that out into the ether because it just reminded me of one of my like key values of why I went to business school.
I'm glad that you'd say that. Thank you.
No, it was a card worth showing, I'd say.
Absolutely.
Boys, have a great week, and I'm excited to see you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I'll see you on campus sometime soon. Is it going to be worth it? Is it going to be worth it? Like, this is a lot of money that I'm putting into this. Like, is it going to be worth it? So